Welcome, Sebastian Bach.
What's up, man? All right.
Nice to see you.
What's up?
Hello, Sebastian.
Hey.
How are you, man?
Good, man.
Been a long time.
You gonna kick me out?
No. I believe the last time you kicked me out is how it went.
Well, I didn't kick you out.
You know, I believe you said, get out of my dressing room.
No. Edward Hyde kicked you out.
Did he? Okay, tell you what.
Yeah.
It's good. Listen, that fight was a funny fight because I was like, what the has happened here? But
I can explain to you, like, hey, when I was on Broadway, coming from Peterborough, Ontario, Canada, I can't think of any other Broadway leading men from Peterborough. If there is some, I don't know.
there's still hope for Bob Gainey. Maybe Bob Gainey can do it one day.
So I just was like, when you came at me, asked me about Poison, I didn't want to bring Poison to Broadway.
Right.
I wanted to do Broadway legit. Like
Right.
I don't want to do a rock and roll Broadway. Like I want to do a Broadway.
I would agree with you, except for the part that we had talked about the Broadway for a long time before. And then when I did the Poison thing, I think what happened was you thought that I thought I was taking a run at you. I actually didn't think it was a bad thing. I thought, man, being on the road with Poison is not a bad deal, and sharing fans with Poison is not a bad deal as well.
Well, I think you're right, actually,
You know?
in hindsight. I actually toured with Poison in 2008.
And they're good dudes.
Yeah, and they are very successful and good at what they do. And there's a lot of people that love Poison. Like when... good.
Only 3 of them came today, though.
The part that really makes me sad watching that is that signed Ace Frehley poster on the wall.
Dude.
I saw that floating down my street last week. No, I lost a lot of stuff. I just lost my home on a Hurricane Irene.
Hurricane Irene.
And I got divorced in December, so I think my next record's gonna be called The Hurricane Took Everything My Wife Didn't. Wrote the melody. It's going to be a country song, and it's going, hurricane took everything my wife didn't.
Well, that's a lot. Look, that's a lot. I mean, you've clearly got a good sense of humor about it, but that's a lot of change to go through in a short period of time.
It sucks.
And for a guy that's gone through all the stuff you've gone through, you know, even the fact that you agreed to come on the show, I mean, it's a different place. Do you feel like you're in a different spot?
Well, yeah. What I've gone through is completely crazy. Like I met my ex-wife in Toronto when I was 16, and she was 21. So I was with her, you know, my whole life, really. So I don't know how to be single. I don't know how to do this. I don't know the rules or anything. I have a new girlfriend whose name's Minnie Gupta, and she's on the cover, and she's very nice to me, and I love her very much. But she's 25, and I'm 43, and she wears me out. She likes to stay up till like 6 in the morning and stuff. I'm like, by 11 o'clock, I'm like, dude, I want to go to bed now, for God's sakes.
So this is an adjustment period then.
I don't know, if you have a life where your job is to make music and go on stage and play your music and then do interviews about your music, I mean, how can you complain about that? Like,
yeah.
I mean, when I see musicians complain, it's like, don't do it. Like, even my best buddy, Axel, will talk about stuff he's going through. This is funny, like, and he'll go off on a rant and talk and very emotionally about stuff that he's going through, and I'll listen to him for like 20 minutes. Yeah, yep. An hour goes by. Yeah, yep. I know that sucks. Yeah, it's horrible. Yeah, I know. It's rotten. I know. And then at the end, I'll go, but dude, you wanted to rock.
Yeah, you have to wear it, man.
I'm like, you wanted to rock. Like, you signed up for it. You know what rock is. Just...
Remember the first time you met Axel?
That was 1989. We were opening up for Aerosmith at the LA Forum. We sold out 4 nights. And there was a knock at the door, and it was Axl Rose. And I was like, holy jeez. And he comes into my room, and he goes, hey, Baz. He talks really low, really low. But then he laughs in the highest soprano. Like, his speaking voice is like Clint Eastwood, and then his laugh is like, ha, 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 like I can't even, like... He like goes through all these octaves just in one sentence. It's amazing. But he was doing a song, Train Kept It Rollin' with Aerosmith that night. He didn't know the words.
Right.
So I wrote the words out for him and he practiced the words. And then there was a knock at the door after Axl sang, and it was David Lee Roth. And he's like, hey, Sebastian, what's going on?
I mean, in
And he comes-
1989, that's a crazy hotel
I was
room.
freaking out. This was the dressing room at the Forum.
Yeah.
David Lee Roth comes in, and I'm sitting right next to him, and I'm like, hey, Dave, do you want to roll a joint? And he goes, Sebastian, you do the honors.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, are you going to go? GNR's taken you out a few times. Do you think you'll go out with them again?
I did get an interesting text.
From Axl?
From Betta.
Okay, what did it say?
Said, you want to play some shows? No, but that's not confirmed yet. But every time I've got one of those texts, it always happened. So.
I mean, what do you, I mean,
Right on.
I've heard an awful. Could you ever foresee a time where there will be a reunited GNR on the road with a reunited Skid Row?
I can envision that, but it's all nebulous talk because it doesn't interest me just going on the road, just playing old stuff. Like to me, the fun part about rock and roll is making new CDs and putting that in your iPod. You know, I mean, you've been listening to Skid Row for 20 years. Like, what have you done for me lately?
Practically 10 years to the day when we opened so very modestly in a storefront over on Brock Street. 10 years later, we're now in the most historically significant building in this county. Certainly creates the potential for art to become a very, very strong part of the fabric of the life of this community.
You're back here with Sebastian Bach. That's from, I think, 1984. Mm-hmm. It's interesting, you know, a lot of guys, when they want to get into art, they're worried that their parents won't be there to support them, but you got it the other way around.
Well, yeah, that's my dad, and there's my mom right over there. And my sister and my aunt, my brothers.
Got the whole family.
There's my Aunt Leslie. She raised me on Elvis Presley.
Nice.
And, you know, I met Sean Penn, and he's like, dude, you're like the Elvis Presley of rock. That's what he said. But that's hard to watch. That's amazing. I love that you know, there's all that archival footage and stuff. But what was the question?
I just want to know that just the lessons you learned from your folks and how key that was to your success. And as you became more successful, did you lose sight of that and have to find your way back?
Well, my dad he really picked something that he loved. Like, he loved to paint, so that's all he did. And he used to include me in it. I would be at Queen Mary's School, and the speaker would go off in the classroom and say, Sebastian, get to the principal's office. I go, what did I do? I didn't do anything. And my dad would be there in the principal's office, say, hey, man, you want to come to Toronto with me today and help me hang my art show? And he'd like yank me out of school to help him hang his art. And he would buy Arts Canada magazine, and I would read Arts Canada to him while he was driving. But I would spend all day like hanging his art with him, and he just loved it so much. And I fell in love with singing. I was a lead soprano in my church choir, and then I fell in love with rock and roll. Mm-hmm. And so I said, well, my dad's a painter, I'm going to be a singer.
Let's go back to Broadway. You did Jekyll and Hyde. Were you more comfortable as Jekyll or Hyde?
Mr. Hyde. But the one thing I learned on Broadway with Jekyll and Hyde, then I was Jesus Christ Superstar.
Yeah.
And what I learned is it's easier to play the bad guy than the good guy. It's
Playing Jesus is tough, right?
Yeah, walking on stage and convincing people you're the Son of God can be it's kind of... I might have my work cut out for me on that one. You want to hear one of my favorite reviews I ever got? We played New Orleans, the Sanger, a beautiful, beautiful venue. And the first line of the review said, just the simple fact that Sebastian Bach is playing the role of Jesus Christ could quite possibly be the first true sign of the oncoming apocalypse. My other favorite one, back in 1989, this is a good one. You'll like this one. You remember Christina Applegate?
Yeah.
I went to dinner with her a couple times. I wasn't married.
Just the two of you?
Well, there's other people in the restaurant.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, you were there with her as opposed to a group of people together?
Yeah.
Oh, like a date?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
But the National Enquirer had a picture of me on stage going, and then it had a picture of her, and underneath my picture it said, Sebastian Bach, even in rock and roll circles, he is considered crude and disgusting. Even in rock and roll circles, crude and disgusting. I'm like, that's a memorable review right there. Yeah.
But it's the double-edged sword of having a successful career, especially when you're young, right? Those Skid Row records really resonated with people, and Slave to the Grind debuted at #1, and you have this moment where people really know you initially, and so they have relationships with you for 20 years, but that's where it started, and that matters to them. So,
it does.
So when that's why people talk about this a reunion, because they want to see that band play those songs.
Well, it's funny. My favorite actor in the world is Sean Penn. And I met him at a place called Bungalow 8 in Manhattan. He was wearing a baseball hat. This was like a year ago or 2 years ago. And he was with the dudes in Green Day sitting there, but I didn't see him. He's also with Dave Bryan from Bon Jovi, who's my friend. And so I walked over to the table, and there's this dude in his baseball hat. And then he looks up, and it was Sean Penn, and I lost it because he's my favorite actor. I think he's the best actor out there. And I go, oh my God, Sean Penn! And then he looked up at me, and he knew everything I've ever done. Like everything. He goes, oh yeah, well you did that with a bottle, you did this, and you jumped in the crowd, and you did this, and he's building up. Everybody's listening to him. He's like reciting my whole career to me. And then at the end of the thing, he goes, I got one question for you. I go, what? He goes, why aren't you in jail right now?
He's one of the few people that you could look at and say, I could say the same thing to you.
No, you're right. Well, we got along amazing. We went upstairs and they closed it off, and I'm leading up to something that we were talking about. You know, I'm all about making the new music and progressing as a singer and doing new songs. And I explained all this to him, and then I explained to him, you know, but I always get this, you know, when are you going to get the band back together, the reunion tour and all the thing? And I'm thinking, you know, he's going to say, you know, that he goes, and I go, yeah, you know, promoters are waiting. And Sean Penn goes, dude, I've been waiting for that. I go, what? And I go, but it's just like a reunion tour. And he goes, but you five guys coming together again is art in and of itself. And I go, you're Sean Penn. You're a badass. And he goes, dude, and he like told me that it would be really cool. And so coming from him, that kind of put some wheels in motion. That, you know, if people think that is art, just getting together, you know, I mean, it's very easy for me to go sing "Youth Gone Wild," but I'm like 43, so.
It's good to see you, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, George. All right.
Really appreciate it. Sebastian Bach.